Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on Joe Nesbo's Macbeth. Joe Nesbo's Macbeth is a retelling of William Shakespeare's tragedy Macbeth. Taking place in the 1970s, we follow Macbeth in the run-down, grimy city of Fife as he and his fellow members of SWAT tackle the local drug trade. One of the drug lords has a greater plan, a plan that involves manipulating and controlling Macbeth. Just like Shakespeare, Joe Nesbo's Macbeth is a story of political ambition and greed and one man's descent into corruption and villainy. For starters, you guys, I realize that I'm probably pronouncing the author, Joe Nesbo, I realize that I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly. I'm not quite sure how his name is pronounced. If you happen to know, please let me know. Yeah, because the O at the end of his name, there's like a slash through it, and I'm not quite sure what that pronunciation is supposed to be, so please let me know, because I feel a little embarrassed, because I think I'm definitely pronouncing it wrong. But anyway, on to my review of Macbeth. Just to let you guys know, I'm a huge William Shakespeare fan. I've not read everything, but I've read a pretty hefty portion of his works, and time and again, my favorites have always been Macbeth and Hamlet. It's always been very difficult for me to choose, do I like Macbeth or do I like Hamlet more? It's always kind of an up in the air sort of thing, but I think I always go back to Macbeth being my favorite Shakespeare play, because Macbeth, there's just, I don't know, there's just something that really calls to me. I love the story, I love the narrative, I love the characters. There's just something so rich about the story of Macbeth. So yeah, I was absolutely thrilled when I discovered that Joe Nesbo was doing a 1970s retelling of Macbeth. And seriously, the 1970s setting is absolutely perfect for the story of Macbeth. It makes so much sense, you know. Plus, throw in a local drug trade and corruption and ambition. I mean, it's all the makings of what you know from the classic Shakespeare play. Now, I definitely did have some problems and some issues with this book. I think on Goodreads I ultimately gave it 3 stars, and for me 3 stars is it's average. You know, I kind of consider 3 stars to be average. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just kind of right there in the middle. It's fine for what it is. But yeah, I'll get to my problems in a minute. I kind of want to focus on right here at the beginning of the review, the things I did particularly enjoy. For starters, I really enjoyed how close this retelling did stick to the original Shakespeare story. I mean, yeah, things are updated and modernized, you know, to fit into the 1970s, and yeah, the characters are definitely fleshed out a lot more than they are in the play. Yeah, just a lot more going on to really flesh out the world and the characters, the story. But still, at the end of the day, this was, I think, a very, very, very close retelling of the story. Like, nothing strayed super far away, you know what I mean? And the thing is, that's what made this book so enjoyable, I think, because if you have read the play, yeah, you'll get into this and you'll recognize immediately what Joe Nesbo is up to, what he's modernizing, what he's fleshing out, you know, and it's kind of thrilling and exciting to kind of witness that. And Joe Nesbo definitely sticks to those major themes that Shakespeare presents with the play. You know, the play and this book, they're ultimately about corruption and ambition, and yeah, Macbeth's journey into villainy, essentially. I kind of consider him one of the all-time best Shakespearean villains, to be quite honest. And yeah, because at the start of this novel, I mean, even in the play too, you know, but yeah, more specifically at the start of this novel, Macbeth, he's initially a good guy, you know, you're kind of rooting for him, you like him, his personality and his sense of humor and whatnot, and yeah, just over the course of the novel, through a series of events, and yeah, through Lady Macbeth. In this, she's just called Lady. But yeah, through her manipulations and whatnot, yeah, she's the one who kind of prompts him down the road into darkness and villainy and whatnot. And yeah, Macbeth, I mean, in this novel, he's already prone to violent outbursts at times. He definitely has a very wild paranoia at times as well. So yeah, everything with Macbeth's character, I think, is just done very, very perfectly, very believably. You know, you understand why he goes from this position to this position by the end of the novel. And yeah, I also just like the fact that, you know, because in the play, Macbeth, he starts off as a Scottish general, but as you know, he winds up as the King of Scotland by the end of the play, with probably further ambitions to go even beyond a king, you know, become more of like a tyrant or an emperor perhaps, and be kind of like Alexander the Great is kind of what I always kind of think about. But yeah, in this book, he starts off as a, you know, as the head of SWAT, which was kind of awesome. And yeah, through the novel, he becomes the chief commissioner, then he has desires to become the mayor, and then yeah, it's never kind of brought up, but it's kind of like, well, after mayor, hey, you might want to become president next. So yeah, I just kind of love that build up of Macbeth's character and his rise up in the ranks and how far he could have gone. And yeah, just speaking of some of the other characters really quickly, like I said, Macbeth, he starts off as a member of SWAT. Lady, like I said, Lady Macbeth, Lady, she runs a casino. That was just kind of brilliant. I love that. Yeah, Duncan is the chief commissioner before Macbeth is the chief commissioner. Yeah, Banquo is a member of SWAT, and then Duff, who in the play is Macduff. I have a feeling Joe Nesbo, because that might have been a little confusing in the narrative, you know, Macbeth and Macduff, so he shortened it to Duff. But yeah, Duff is also a member of SWAT. And an element from the play that I was very curious about was, how is Joe Nesbo going to incorporate kind of the more supernatural elements, meaning the witches? And I think he does that very cleverly through the local drug trade, because the leader, the head guy of the drug trade is this guy named Hecate. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. His name's Hecate. He's in charge of the whole drug trade. Yeah, he has his fellow associates who are almost like the witches from the play, essentially, who are doing his bidding. And yeah, the drugs, I like how the drugs kind of play into it, because it moves along some of those supernatural elements from the play in some ways. You know, characters having hallucinations, characters being driven by paranoia, the elements of the prophecies, because that prophecy plays a huge part in the play. So yeah, just very interesting how Joe Nesbo incorporated the use of the witches, and doing that through the drug trade, which made a hell of a lot of sense and very cleverly done, I think. So the big question, do you need to have read the play in order to enjoy this book? That's kind of a difficult question. For me personally, I feel like it's best if you are familiar with the play, whether you've read it or you've seen an adaptation of it or have gone to the theater to see a version of it. I think it might help, because there's just so many little details in this book. You know, like I said, I got a big kick and thrill out of kind of figuring out certain things and being like, oh yes, this is directly from the play. You know, I enjoyed doing that and reading that. So yeah, for me personally, I think it's best you are familiar with the play, because you might kind of go in this and it might be boring to you. I don't know, I feel like it might be boring to somebody who's not familiar with the play. I don't know, it's really up to you. So just to move to some of my negatives with this book really quickly. They were negatives to me, they might not be negatives to you, who knows. But yeah, one of my biggest issues with this book, you know, I keep saying, oh, it takes place in a 1970s setting, but for me, I felt like Joe Nesbo, he didn't incorporate enough of the 70s. I seriously don't know if it was just me. At the end of the day, I felt like this novel could have taken place in any random decade. It could have been the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. It could have even been the modern day, for all I knew. I just don't think there was enough references and shout-outs to the 70s to make me feel like this was the 70s. You know what I mean? I think there was a lack of descriptions sometimes in that regard to the setting. Joe Nesbo, he does a great job of kind of setting up the characters and kind of the town, because the town is really run down and grimy, and you can really get a sense of that. But yeah, you just don't feel the 1970s, if I'm making any sense. So yeah, I wish that would have been made a bigger deal of that particular setting. And another issue that I had, which once again, this might just be an issue for me, I did find myself a little confused and overwhelmed on occasion. The play, you know, the play is, it's a play. You can kind of read it and you can make sense of it, and that's kind of it to it. But yeah, with a novel, the play, it's fleshed out a lot more. The background characters from the play are given a hell of a lot more to do in this book. So I did kind of find myself a little confused sometimes, and yeah, trying to remember, wait, was this character in the play, or is this a made-up character that Joe Nesbo has created? Was this plot in the play originally, or something Joe Nesbo created? And yeah, a lot of characters, seriously, a vast amount of characters, and I kind of kept getting a little confused about, wait, who is on whose side? Who is Team Duff and who is Team Macbeth? I kind of found myself getting a little confused on occasion, trying to keep that together. Because yeah, this novel, there's definitely a lot of misdirection going on. There's a lot of characters flip-flopping all over the place. So yeah, this might just be an issue for me. I think I would definitely need to reread this again, kind of knowing who the main characters are, you know, that who the bigger characters are and who's important, because then I think I would be able to keep track of them a little better. And lastly, this was not really an issue for me, but I'm bringing it up just in case it's an issue for other readers. If you require likable characters in your novels, you're not going to get it in this book. None of these characters are particularly likable. They're all kind of despicable in their own way. They're all kind of irritating. But that's kind of what I liked in a weird sort of way. How unlikable they all were, because that made them human. That made them flawed human beings. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is kind of strange. You know, you're not really, don't go into this novel expecting, oh, I'm going to love this person, you know? Because yeah, Macbeth, you do initially like Macbeth at the beginning, but of course he starts doing some very, very, very terrible things, and you do despise him by the end of this novel. And then the same with Duff, because in the play I do really love the character of Macduff, but yeah, Duff in this novel, he's definitely full of ego. He's very egotistical. He has a very specific type of personality, and he's very unlikable. At the beginning of this novel, yeah, he's having an affair with another woman that's not his wife, which is kind of despicable. But yeah, by the end of the novel, I did find myself liking Duff, kind of his turnaround by the end. So yeah, I don't know. You're either going to like some of these people or you're not, but ultimately I think they're all pretty kind of despicable characters, and you're not really going to like any of them. But like I said, it makes them more believable, I think. It really fleshes them out and makes them feel like real human beings. And speaking of Duff and Macbeth, I love that relationship, you guys. They definitely have like a bromance, because in this novel, Macbeth and Duff, we find out that they've been childhood friends for quite a long time. They grew up in an orphanage together, so they have a really rich backstory that they don't have in the play, I don't think. So yeah, I really love that relationship, because in the play, the core relationship is definitely between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. And yeah, Lady and Macbeth, their relationship is definitely a core in this novel as well. But like I said, I think the Macbeth and Duff is, that's what excels the most in this novel, I think. So overall, I did like this novel. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good, but I think it was still very tolerable and very enjoyable. I found myself enjoying it quite immensely. I definitely would recommend it. You know, if you enjoy the play, check it out. It might be for you. You might want to do a bit more research on it maybe, but yeah, I think other people might enjoy this. Sometimes I felt like the pacing was a little off balance on occasion. Some of the dialogue is very, very silly and cheesy. It's like Joe Nesbo, he was trying to incorporate certain lines of dialogue from the play, but they kind of don't really translate that great into a novel format. They sometimes kind of felt a little weird and strange, like people don't really speak like that anymore. This ain't Shakespearean times. So yeah, sometimes the dialogue is a bit silly, cheesy, kind of forced, kind of unnatural. But once again, I think what this novel excels at is definitely just the retelling itself. That's what I really enjoyed the most. And yeah, this is part of the Hogarth Shakespeare collection. I've not even mentioned that yet. There's already several other books in this particular series. What the Hogarth Shakespeare collection is, if you don't already know, it's a collection of Shakespearean retellings by modern day authors. And yeah, I'm not really quite sure what other plays have been retold. You'd have to kind of look it up on Goodreads. It's all on Goodreads. But yeah, I know the next book in the collection is going to be a retelling of Hamlet by Gillian Flynn. Yeah, guys, like I mentioned at the start of this review, Macbeth and Hamlet are my two all-time favorite Shakespeare plays. So I'm yeah, Gillian Flynn. I love Gone Girl. I freaking love Gone Girl. So yeah, I'm just very thrilled whenever her Hamlet retelling comes out. So, you guys, that's it for this book review. In the comments below, have you guys read Joe Nesbo's Macbeth? Do you plan on reading it anytime in the future? Yeah, how do you feel about William Shakespeare's Macbeth? Is that your favorite Shakespearean play? Because it's certainly mine. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.